Happy Stoney Sunday, everyone! I'm Coral, and for this week's video, I'm taking you along with me down to my glass shop where I melt glass into fish pendants.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I've been melting glass for about 3 or 4 years now, and while I started with hollow work with lessons at Revere Glass in Berkeley, I really like sculpting solid pendants best. The shop that I work in is a smoke-free environment, so I like to get super stony before I go down there. I was gonna try and braid my hair for you guys and do it all nice and fancy, but I'm running a little bit late, so I'm gonna just keep getting stony because that's gonna help me the most during work later today. I do have the cutest shop dog in the world. That's you, Miss Daffodil. And the shop that I work at is actually a little glass working station in front of a 40-year-old head shop in Santa Cruz. They've had artists behind the torch in this little tiny fishbowl of a studio, as they call it, off and on throughout the years. While I was growing up in Santa Cruz, I definitely remember seeing some flame work being done there. When I was waitressing across the street, I don't remember seeing anyone working in the window. Isn't that kind of silly? I actually used to waitress right across the street from Pipeline, and both are on Pacific Avenue, which is like the main strip of downtown Santa Cruz. Downtown Santa Cruz is really close to the beach. It's like under a mile, probably like half mile if you wanted to walk, and it's still really close to just being right off the freeway. So it's where most of the tourists go. That walk takes them right by my window in front of Pipeline, and it's a little bit bittersweet that I am on display when I'm melting glass, because it's not every day that I want to be stared at while I'm working. But if I didn't have that window to the world, I'd be completely alone just in my little 10 by 10 room with no interaction at all, and that would be just as terrible as being stared at. The gases that I work with are propane, and this big one over here is the tank for oxygen. Both have lines to my torch, but my torch actually has 2 oxygen nozzles and 1 for propane. So it goes propane, oxygen, oxygen, or poo, which is what they teach you on the first day of glass school. At this point in the fish's life, I pop it into the kiln while I work on the pendant loop, also known as the bail. Once the bail is on the fish, then I work on the eye and I finish up with the mouth. That's the last touch. I really like using the glow-in-the-dark white for the eyes. I think it adds just like a little extra oomph to the fish, and when they're hanging in a dark room, you'll see those eyes glowing back at you, and that's just so fun. The rest of these rods are my color choices I've pulled out recently, although I have a huge backstock of color as well in a cooler behind me. I grouped them by color, but not necessarily by brand, and I don't label them all. So I've definitely gotten myself mixed up a few times since moving into this shop. The PVC tubing and this cooler work for now. Because the glass shop was used by other artists before me, there are all sorts of remnants and reminders of those artists. It's really cool to see the glass posters that they left up on the wall, some of the instructions on how to certain things. This room really just has a feeling of history and being part of like a family of artists that have called it home for however long. I've tried to add my own touch here or there, hung a couple of fish and a seahorse up on the wall, but I do still have some plans for a total makeover of this little shop. Well, I've been melting glass for a couple of hours now, and I actually have 5 reefer fish pendants in the kiln already. That's more than I normally do. I feel like vlogging for you guys has had me motivated and just burning away on the torch. But I need to take a little break now and stretch my feet, get some daffodil cuddles in, and then take a little walk around Pipeline, say hi to Uriah and the Pipeline team. Pipeline's one of those head shops with a price point for every single customer. They have some really heady, nice, local glass, lots of colors, handmade, and then they also have some import and production made pieces, so you can just walk right in and get a $20, $30, $40 bong if you want, or you could find something worth $200, $300, $400 that's really, really nice too. They do keep a selection of reefer fish pendants in stock as often as possible. I'm always trying to make sure there are a few different colors on their shelves, and they even have a whole UV section, so I've snuck a couple UV reefer fish into that display too. Even though 5 would be a pretty good day for me when it comes to making pendants, I'm gonna stay and make a couple more, hopefully. Fingers crossed, I'll see what I can do before I take a break to post today's News Nug story. I can't forget to do that. I'm calling it a day with 7 fish in the kiln. That is the most that I've made for a single day in a really long time, so I think you guys are my good luck charm. I try and have everything done pretty early in the afternoon so that I can actually flip off the kiln and let it cool down before closing time for Pipeline. I only have access to my shop during their business hours, so if I can let my kiln cool and make it all the way back down to Pipeline before they close, I can actually scoop up these fish that I made today and have them listed on my big cartel by the end of the day, and I love when I can have that all done in the same day. With the tanks off, I bleed the lines, so I'm actually gonna turn this on with no ignition, and that gets any oxygen and propane out of these lines while I'm not on the torch. Don't need to have them full and ready to go. So now that it's empty, I'm gonna make sure I close that again. And then because I work downtown and there is that big window front, I don't wanna leave my torch in the window where everyone can see it. So I actually take it all the way off the bench and tuck it away. After Uber gave me a ride home, I got back to getting Stoney, and my audio stopped recording for the rest of the afternoon. So I took a couple more bong hits, talked to the camera without any idea that you guys wouldn't be able to hear me, and I headed back to the shop right before they closed. for watching Stoney Sunday this week. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to leave a comment down below if you did and give it a thumbs up. I'll see you guys next week.